And the question I have for you, has our past been obscured?
Has our past been obscured?
Yes.
Could you say that it's our human behaviour first to have psychological mutism and mute certain things out?
Sure.
Right? Okay, well, and then could group think cause you to be social, apparent, and you never examined the group think at all, but that came about because society had some means to have been achieved by saying, Johnny, you've got to go to war, let's say. But Johnny really, when you ask him, his brothers, other people, he doesn't really want to go, but he's going because that's what you do.
Yeah.
So self-autonomy is you're talking about self-autonomy. How much self-autonomy do we have? And, because that 50% of yourself should be self-autonomous, shouldn't it? And the other bit of yourself, 50%, should be about your interrelatedness. So you think that people are not controlled, or that history could have been replete, but not. There was never an age which actually something was going on which was obscuring our past.
So I would say that our past has definitely been obscured.
Yeah, well, personal, but now you're talking about society, though.
Yeah, I'm talking more of a society level,
Yeah, right.
Personal.
Yeah, well, okay, no, we can understand that. But then purposefully, if, for instance, someone only had a religion and the topic was about does involution or evolution exist? Mm-hmm. And now, are we wanting to uphold a religion and so that you cannot examine the question without a view that's biased, like selective biases? Yeah? It's an example, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, we see selective bias all the time in the news nowadays.
Well,
it's everywhere, every example.
And so what about a monopoly which does exist, like the media and banking and, those in control over all the corps? Monopolies are bad.
I agree.
Why is a monopoly bad?
Well, then, because you lack choice.
Okay, so now we're starting to talk about it, aren't we? Do you have a feeling that the past has been obscured? That's the question.
Oh, I definitely do. Yeah. I don't trust anybody or anything. Yeah. I trust you.
Well, we should trust what we have inside ourselves, and who's great really knows they're great, and they already have deep insight into it. I've been trying to trick you, but I don't know. Every time I say something, it already jives with something you already have inside about it.
I'm hard to trick.
Yeah. Well, okay, so...
But it depends on the trick.
No, okay. Well, basically what you just said is that most of the past has been obscured. Would you agree?
I would say absolutely, and you know what? Especially...
Well, why would you say that? Give us...
It's a feeling I always had. Hey, what's up, Tony? It's a feeling I've always had. I don't feel that our history has been totally honest with us.
Yeah, but if you've got a monopoly there, it's only wanted to have dollar signs in its own eyes.
Then you know it hasn't been honest with us.
Okay, there are two masters. What happens when somebody really doesn't have the master we're in, but they've got dollars in there? I mean, all of a sudden, like, maybe, the movement towards something might not be so good, right? Because it's sort of good for somebody maybe, but not good for all of us. Or it's good for someone else out there, but not good for who did that. It's a bit dumb. Or it's not good for us. It's not good for who did it. It's like, well, that's pretty dumb. That's very dumb, in fact. You don't think that actually there's a shortage of a realization of how many stupid people actually are existing in the world?
I don't think there'll ever be a shortage.
Yeah, because I don't think there's a shortage of understanding how many stupid people are in there. No, okay. There would never be a shortage.
Never.
That's good. No, that's good. That probably, yeah. So, in other words, like, do you think that precognitive types of commitments are going on, which is going to predetermine how you view something?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, what if you were going for president, you couldn't really talk about Israel because you couldn't separate issues that related to where this was or how it started, or Palestine, which is a light star, or, you know, as a nation, let's say, and Gaza, and the IDF, and
I think an honest candidate can talk about whatever they want.
Hamas.
Hamas.
Yeah,
But an honest candidate can say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, but you see, well, a lot of these people could get themselves into hot water, couldn't they? Because they don't and can't consider, like, what Zionism is in relation to all of that, or something. And that when somebody would say something is Jewish, for instance, is this the religion? Because many would consider that religion certain, because, like, you've got so many people in the world who would be unaware of this is a religion. And so, is that Semitic per se? It could be, but maybe not, but probably, maybe, but maybe not. And then these groups are all political groups. These are body politics. That's not from, you see. And so this is a bit of a problem, because nobody could say from. Well, you're supposed to be able to say from, but if it was, then it would be selected, not elected.
Well, now, we started out with, right, has our past been obscured? Absolutely. I would like for you, Happy Face, can you give me some examples of way back in the day of
I reckon actually quite good would be first, like, if you really didn't want to agree with people, right? You really didn't like them, perhaps, or something, because you were jealous, or you couldn't organise yourselves, or, wow, that's a pretty friggin' incredible story. Like, where's our story? What about the people who have a story that they walked across the dry land where there was water?
The Bering Sea, maybe.
No, well, what about the Red Sea, the Red Sea?
Oh, the Red Sea, the parting of the Red Sea, of course.
Yeah, the Exodus.
And that actually happened?
Yeah, it did.
Right.
Yeah, it did, you see. And so, like, well, lots of people don't agree with it, because they could think, well, how could the tides have been, of the oceans all of a sudden have been high that it pulled all the water off the land? That's pretty wild stuff there, okay? A lot of people don't think or realize that it actually did happen, right? Well, because something happened once.
Okay.
Would it happen again? No. Why? Well, it was only once that could have had an opportunity to have happened, like, Venus wandering around as a comet and then suddenly getting its tail chopped off by Mars when it went close to Mars. But pushed the planets around a little bit before they settled into where we are now. But back then in 10,500 BC, you've got an exact copy of the Orion star, all marked out on the ground with the...
Yes, we do. I've seen those.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So what does that tell you?
Well, people made a copy of what they could see in the heavens. And they said, this is the first time. And that was when they first made the Sphinx.
Okay.
And pointing east. So that March the 21st, a solstice moment of being, yes?
So the Sphinx a lot older than the
you've
pyramid?
got time frame that when Aquarius would have been rising behind the sun in its sunrise, March the 21st, and suddenly now you're in the house of Aquarius, which happened in 2012.
I remember that because I'm Aquarius. But anyways, are you saying that the Sphinx is way older than the pyramid?
The Sphinx is an astral calendar.
Oh.
And the people who put it there were the boat people. They put their boats there too. These people who were there, they didn't use boats much at all. And they didn't have too much cartography. But the people who built the pyramids, damn, they really did. And they didn't necessarily just live there. They lived in several places. It was a minor majority. And so, if you talk about the past, could it be obscured because first, most can't sort of come to certain parts of a story because it could be too fantastic or something like that. You can understand that, right?
Sure.
But why wouldn't you actually consider it? Like the frogs jumped out of the water. Well, they could have. That was the first part of it. The second part of the plague. And sign.
Jump out of water all the time.
Yeah, well, if it's toxic. If volcano blew like Santorini did.
Yeah.
Because, earthquakes occur when, you've got comet flybys and all this sort of thing going on. And Santorini blew. Carbon dioxide went into the lake, made it blood red. It seeped over the land, hugged it about 10 feet. It was sayonara for anybody that was in their sleep at 10 feet above, and then above the ground there was no carbon and dioxide, and so people survived.
Now, since our past has
the pharaohs, people, the people who actually ran Egypt at the time, they were really Macedonian, Alexander's people were all Macedonian mainly, from the Massa, yes, and all these people all settled into there around that ocean and things. Alexander comes along, but long before this there was a big exodus, and when they exited they went to the new lands in America and Canada, and also to Greece, and studies show that, in fact, all artifacts and everything, yes. So it was really one world if you imagine it, and that one people did have boats, they had machinery, they had steel, right. And this would be in a time when England was still part of a massive part of a land. Doggerland was still there, and these nations were, and Ireland was connected to the mainland, and there was big, huge lands that went out, and it hadn't broken up at that point. And
that was a long
tin
time ago.
was being mined in Cornwall in the mountains there. Eventually that becomes the Horn, right. But you see, so a lot of things have happened in more recent time, like Doggerland sunk. That's in recent time relative, and so they were all the lands that were north in the English Sea there, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, all lands. And so we've had a terraformedness, all sorts of things go on. We've got 300 feet or more water here, and a massive amount of water since they settled in Boston a little bit. And people came there. You can see where we were out off the sea, floor, where water covers over it now. But could we imagine that at a time frame which we could look at in the last 78 or 80,000 years at least, and know that dinosaurs, we live together, because you're finding a lot of soft tissue.
And I think they found evidence. I didn't read the article, I need to, but I believe they did find old paintings or something with humans along with dinosaurs. Yeah,
well, we've got soft tissue. It can't survive millions of years. We've got blood in the brow bone of dinosaur from Hell Creek in Montana.
Wow. So, obviously, our past has been obscured. Is our present being obscured right now?
Well, isn't it spiritual that if you know more about your past, you could know more where you're going? And is it sort of a dumb downness, more or less, that if you didn't really know that there were two golden ages that built these beautiful stone buildings, and that there's always two golden ages, you're coming in and you're coming back out again as you go around a circle. You see, it's like a figure eight. So you come back through the circle again and again, and so you have two golden ages, more or less, you see, as you're coming through and as you're coming back out again.
Are we the second golden age, or are we the third?
We're going to be coming into a golden age. Matter of fact, so. Aquarius is the house which welcomes in the golden age.
All right.
Yeah. So, would you say in the golden age you've got positive inducted currency?
I would hope so.
Yeah. Would you say you have an account?
I don't know. Is that good?
Yes. Would you say that you're the real estate?
I would say yes.
Okay. And so that you're unlimited worth, the living,
yep.
yes?
Yep.
And this is the nation's wealth. we're the people who are living in this. Yes, REIT is the biggest traded, company basic that trades real estate. What's real estate? Is that 2 inches above the surface? Yes, that's what that means. Who's the real estate? The real estate. That's a number, isn't it? It's a birth certificate number. That's the real estate. Court, prison and bonds are all being traded. Huge. It's massive, and that's the real estate. People's BC bonds. But where is it all on the land, owning the land as well? And for all things which you're not knowledgeable about, some things are let go because you are just left to be said that you abandoned claims, you see. Do we really know the money mechanics behind things? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't think people do. But, well, just imagine that you have an account because you're a Holocaust COVID survivor.
Okay. We're in a kid.
Well, you need to be compensated.
I think we all need to be compensated.
Yes, so, well, do you have to work?
I don't want to.
No, you shouldn't. It would be wrong if you did, because did you know that most people actually are pretending some service, honest to God, for some financial gain? You don't think that that's obscuring things?
I would expect it.
If you don't know about the past and our recognisedness of how things were, isn't it that those are the things that cause you to become more sharpened about what could be and what wisely might be?
I don't know. Is that a question?
Well, you think that the more patterns you have to recognize something, the more possibility there would be, in fact, that clarity would exist?
I think the less clarity is the goal, right?
Well,
less
more
clarity.
More clarity, meaning we want
talking
transparency.
About them. They want less clarity.
Oh, well, we need more transparency and clarity.
Yes.
You see, we don't want to wish
we need to
lack of transparency or clarity upon people.
They're not giving it to us.
But it's you and I, we do that ourselves. This is more service-based, not customer. This is more customer-based, not service-based.
But wouldn't that be great if there was clarity and transparency in, like, say, the media? Then we wouldn't have to worry about whether or not we're being told the truth. We just know that we're being told the truth. If that was the way things were done or should be done.
So, in other words, governance can only work if you don't have a monopolization of a story. Is that correct?
Well, the government is the monopolization.
No, I'm asking, we are the governance, and governance is like what you said. You just said that transparency is important because they will be able to know how to make decisions and things. I agree, everybody does agree with that. So shouldn't you immediately create that, because at this moment you don't have it? So that'll be
Absolutely
something you want to create. So isn't it 26 people that actually just meet in a municipal council above the Legislative Assembly of a state?
If I was in charge, first thing I would do, I would make it illegal for the media to lie to the public for any reason. Report the facts and do not lie to the public for any reason. That would be the first thing I did. Then I'd make politicians same thing.
But what would happen if nobody was able to have a claim in the past much? Not that you couldn't, but it just sort of happened that a system existed that customer profiled you so that you only had a complaint.
Well, they're trying to limit that, right?
No. Wouldn't you say that who was working for the Crown, they want to limit all the claims against them?
Absolutely.
And they train people to limit all the claims against them? Even all the way down to having a system that customer profiles you so that they just reckon that you have a complaint. You have a claim, but it's listed as a complaint.
And it's so complex and confusing.
Right. But a system has taken over since 1985 where the Crown or, the state is prosecuting people, and you've got corpus delicti behind the scene, meaning it's just by presupposition that something is going on and there's nobody to hear or try any law or fact. Because a corporation hear you?
do they want to?
No, corporation can't hear because it doesn't have a central organised nervous system. So it means it's an entity, you see. So an entity could be sort of like having a qualities of a living being, but it's imaginary. So can an imaginary being get hurt?
No.
No, okay. Thank you so much. So a lot of people are put away, and there is no, crime because there was no victim. So if there was no victim, is that a crime? It's not supposed to be a crime. If you make things a crime suddenly, well, how did you do that? Is it because you got bylaws? So far down as a verb, you've got bye-bye, and private can make bylaws, can't they? And then you could be under a contract, your ID only listing you as a drive whore. Is that okay?
You know, there's so many laws that have been passed.
No, I'm talking about if the past is obscured, and it's obscured that your identity at the moment is only as a drive whore.
Oh, well, yeah, you know.
You're a commercial driver. Okay. And your vehicle is used for commercial purposes.
Okay.
And you're working for the Federal Reserve Bank, right? Mm-hmm. You're a corporation,
okay,
yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so well then, is that true? Is that your ID?
You know,
because you're being ID'd like as a drive whore, as a profession.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but if you don't use that to make a living and things that's like that, is now everything that you do when you present that, you're underneath only apparently a corporation yourself who gave you the license, a private corporation that gave you the license, which is quasi-government or something, but it's a private organisation really, all of them.
It's still a government, yeah.
But that's a government, okay. But we're the government, and systems that's existing might not be so good because they could be just getting you by legal name fraud, and that's not you, that's a fictional you. Everything is done by a fiction, and so, is it because just that's limited liability, not unlimited? Yes. Yes. So it could be a lot of things which is so unlimited in the damage and harm and cost and injury that it's not limited at all. And shouldn't there be a lot of issues which relate to you and I where we're able to settle a claim that you have about something? But if you can't even settle a claim where things have been, how about anything else? You see what I mean?
Yes.
You see, okay. But when you enforce more and you have a capacity to be able to do a proper procedure for claim and things, now you can get things done, but otherwise you wouldn't. But if you were on the right side of the court, which is the venue from the land, it's basic common custom that something is yours, and everybody will say, well, that's that man's, he made that. Another man can't own what that is, no. You see? But where if that wasn't brought up, where it should or wisely could be in any circumstance, but often not, is that an example of people being, of their own identity, obscured?
Okay.
Yeah? Well, what's the difference between more fascism as communism outright and apparently some freedom you have?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
The older I get, the more I realize we have less and less freedoms than I thought we did when I was younger.
So would you have a feeling that if it's true that something slowly was to come and get you, you had to sneak up on the herd, and you don't think criminals and the whole operation of things such as sneaky?
I think it's very sneaky.
Were you alive when Pol Pot was on the rampage?
Yes, I heard of him. I watched a movie called The Killing Fields.
Okay.
About it.
So,
and it was
2.3 million people
he
maybe
killed a lot
got
of people.
murdered?
He started off with doctors, professors, teachers.
Okay, this was a time when people started to get cozy with China. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And who was behind all of that? How come Pol Pot got funded?
Who was behind it?
Yeah, how come Pol Pot got funded?
Please tell me it wasn't the U.S. that funded that.
Well, when you say U.S. or you say China or you say any country like that, did you know that all these nations are corps and that somebody owns that corporation privately?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, 192 nations are run by one group. And could
crown.
it? So there is no such thing as a conspiracy,
No such thing as a conspiracy.
right? Because it's a monopoly. How the hell could it be a conspiracy if there's a monopoly? That'd be weird, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Of course it would be, because it would mean there's all kinds of groups and things which that doesn't exist at all.
I see.
Yes.
Because the only thing that does exist is the monopoly.
I personally think that when you and I were not able to consider things properly, but what happens when we do, now we could start to wake up for sure. But you don't need a conspiracy when you have a monopoly,
Okay.
right? So a pipeline gets blown up and the Germans all go, damn, our energy is so more expensive and we have to buy it from you and in America. And it's like, it's upsetting. It's upsetting because their businesses are all shot. So a pipeline gets blown and so somebody can say nobody did that.
Nobody did that?
Well,
I would have done it if
but
it
why
was
wouldn't
my
it?
company that
But
was
why
gonna
wouldn't
benefit.
you want an investigation?
Because
Yeah.
you're hiding something.
Yeah, but you might not want an investigation because you're the one getting fingered, but you didn't do it.
That's right.
Or you want an investigation because people think you did it and you didn't, and somebody else did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but big deal. Shouldn't the truth be wanting to be known?
I think you want the truth, period, right?
Well,
Worth it.
was something hidden because somebody felt they had a right to hide something as an act of war?
Oh, I see. Now we're talking. Now we're obscuring our present.
Yeah, you see, how did any one of us vote for any of that? No, we didn't. You see?
We did not. We did not. It wasn't a selection. It's an election. It's an election. So, Happy Face, let me ask you. We were originally going to talk about remote viewing, but was the past obscured? That is pretty good, and we will discuss remote viewing. I do have a question, though, before I forget. Is remote viewing limited? Is remote viewing limited to just the present? Can you use it for future
Okay,
viewing?
all right. So the question is, when you go to take a step, is how much anticipation is existed in pre-setting your response?
Okay.
For instance, if you anticipate ease when you go to turn your neck versus you had whiplash and you anticipated pain when you turned your neck, would anticipation itself of having no pain assist to help you turn your neck? Would pain stop you from turning your neck?
Sure, absolutely. It depends on how painful.
Well, if you interpreted things to be that the interpretation of things would be changed, and now you interpreted things to be different, is that the reason why short-term hypnotherapy has such success even with cases like whiplash? Given everything else, all other forms of intervention.
It's very deep there, Happy Face. Very deep.
Well, the one thing you started off saying was that nothing was left alone and that everybody was actually hypnotized.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody has been hypnotized for sure.
Yeah, so there's no such thing as someone not being hypnotized.
That's
because
right.
that you're in a state. So you could be re-hypnotized or de-hypnotized, but basically you are sort of in some state. Yeah. What would you think the reason would be behind why, of course, there's three ways people could respond to each other. There's a congruent response, which you have, you focus on what's parallel and processedness, and then you like to exit from something to go on to something else because you don't like lingering or going over the same thing. So that's not a style you like. The other one is you don't polarize. You don't say, well, no, that's wrong. What about this? It's missing, and which is a way to process. So you've got a congruent response, you've got a response which is not exited because of some condition, could be, or whatever. That's a response. And then the other response is a polarized response. Yeah. What would be if you had a preferred mode of sorting information and all you ever did was to sort information basically by polarization?
I think that would be very limiting.
Yeah. And so if you went to school and you really didn't like what was going on at school and you left everything to the last moment, you learned under stress, and then memory retrieval became state-specific with anxiety.
Oh, absolutely, right? I mean...
And so that afterward you actually got installed by the school and that system that you could have memory, but when you did, it would be kind of something associated to stress.
Yeah, that's no good.
And is that the reason why don't, won't, can't, should, try, but, must, only, never, always could be such a favourite way that somebody responds that, or it's never not adversive, and and then the listener, or even you or I, it's a sort of a selective restrictive violation because it's not social, and so people who are polarising, it's basically not social. It's not a proper social activity. It doesn't mean that some benefit would be there, but if it was a preferred mode of sorting information, like by polarising, that would be not good, would it?
No, not good at all.
Okay, so what if, I'll give you an example. What if everybody joined information together by using the word, I like you, empty, but.
I like you empty, but... Okay. There's an objection right there.
You see, but. Well, but wouldn't you agree that a lot of people are just joining ideas together with the use of the word but?
Sure.
And then after you've said something, they'll say, but?
You know what?
So,
what I hate?
Okay.
I hate when the media will say, oh, this could happen and this could affect you in this way. So they're creating a news on something that hadn't even happened that may never even happen. And that creates stress to the viewer. Don't like it.
Well, a lot of things would be called what's called a resistance transfer. And subtly, even ephemeral content could be directed to you specific because they know maybe his weakness is that he loves gore, for instance. So he's always searching for it in the news, and if he sees it, it pops. And so the search engine knows your specific characteristics the weakness that yours are. And you love, cooking shows.
They know stuff. They know more stuff that I like that I don't even know I like. They know I like something with me not even knowing that I like it
necessarily because it's selecting stuff to control you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if it just reinforces something which is something you have an obsession about, it picks up those things, and so now it amplifies your obsession.
Well, speaking of obsessions, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're obsessed and you want to continue to listen, but that's it for tonight. We are going to come up with another one, so hold on to that obsession for the next show of JUBBTALK on No Mind Radio. We love you, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Happy Faith.